You're watching PEGRI TV, Rhode Island's public access channel.
Shalom. My name is Sheikh Abu Hakim Abdullah, President Chairman of Al Masjid Sharia Law, AMSA, a non-profit religious organization operating in the state of Rhode Island, USA. I was talking to you a little last week about the democracy that people are trying to put into Islam. Like I said, there's only one kind of democratic action that takes place. There's only a few kinds of democratic action that takes place in this Islamic organization that Allah has put together for us. And that is when we voting on how many things, how much to give somebody, on an idea that we have to develop something, but not to change a law and to stop a law, or to change anything or add anything into the Islam. We can't do that. So living democratically in Islam is really an impossibility. But some of you think you can do that. Some of us got jobs that take up half of our lives, half of our day, and even takes up and stops us from praying at times. And professions that we choose to have. Now, when a brother's a Muslim, the only time certain jobs he chooses that takes him away from his Islamic duties or responsibility as a Muslim and place him in a position other than what he should be in. The only time he should take those jobs when he can go from the school of learning this job into an area where he can practice this without disrespecting his deen. And working for somebody that is disrespecting their deen. Because like Allah said in Quran and Hadith, we must follow His way of life and no other. We can't have two ways of life following. I'm gonna be straight out and tell you exactly the way it is. Do you know what blasphemy is? whoever's listening to this. Blasphemy is when you saying things that are contrary to what the law is about, and you're putting that on the law. Blasphemy is when you turn around and say that the law has a son. And then you turn around and say, God bless the mother of God. Now this son became God. And the mother of God is Miriam. Mary. That's blasphemy. In our way of life, God has cursed them for this. The people that follow that and say that. And blasphemy is also in their book. Their book called the Injil. And the Torah. Because all comes from the same place. So, Allah tells us to leave people alone and try not to get involved with certain people. Now, I know that's hard for Muslims to do in America because there seems to be an epidemic of non-participation in the helping of each other in Islam today. And if you lose your job and stuff like that, and you out there in the street trying to get something to eat, it seems to be that the most food you can get free comes from these people that are practicing this blasphemy. The jobs that you can get comes from these people that's practicing this blasphemy. And it goes on and on and on and on. Especially when you got Muslim countries that's spending trillions of dollars to build things for the well-being of these people that's practicing this blasphemy. And not towards the development of independence for their people. And that's a shame. I know I can't get the assistance I'm supposed to be given because of what I say out my mouth. But I must tell the truth, regardless to who don't like it. And I must tell the truth even about myself. I must testify to what is going on. When I was overseas, I seen mucho foods and cigarettes and all that other stuff coming from the Western world. That's right. Food coming from the Western world, clothes coming from the Western world, furniture, cars coming from the Western world. And Muslim money being spent on these things. I see in some countries they're building hotels, homes, houses, office buildings in cities and high rises to the sky. And it's not for Muslims. It's office buildings for the rich. And the only Muslims that's benefiting off of it, really, as a job, is those Muslims that are able to climb them buildings from Bangladesh and other countries that learned how to be stevedores and climb them buildings and doing that work. I see very little factories in England, France, Germany, the United States, Spain, Russia, Greece, for the Muslims that's there in them countries to have work. I've seen millions and billions of dollars being spent on outside labor and outside development for the rich person and not the poor Muslim. So a lot of Muslims are saying they don't want Islam to govern their cities, town, and countries. They want democracy to do it. Alhamdulillah. That's what happened in Egypt. That's what's happening in Syria. That's what happened in Libya. So we must do something about that. But we must be very careful how we do something about that. Because it's been a trap set for us. It's been a trap set for the brothers and sisters. By the devil's tribe of followers of Iblis. To hold Islam back from moving forward as a group against those Muslims that are doing this. If a group of Muslims move forward in a group against brothers that are doing this, they would be considered terrorists. Because they be moving forward against the moderates. And the president of this country alone already said he's not going to deal with unmoderate Muslims. So he took everybody that's not a moderate and moved them over here to the right. And he took everybody else that's different than a moderate and moved them into the category of possible rebels or terrorists or fundamentalists. And so if anybody comes up and stand up against the government that has been un-Islamic and should be Islamic, they would be considered the left. So any moves you make must be done in a way that can be accepted as legal. I must phrase all this stuff in a way where I'm not telling you to violate some laws. And I'm not. I'm telling you that you must go to the UN and the World Court and other things before you make a move towards eliminating a group of Muslims from their non-practicing position of Islam. I hope you understood what I said. Alhamdulillah. So to bring this thing to a closing, you must stand up against the people that's doing things wrong to destroy Islam. Now, we already classified that terrorism and fundamentalism, not terrorism and rebellism, is bad and against Islam regardless of what kind it is. So we had to do some classifying ourselves. And we had to do it through the World Court. And it's a shame that we're going to have to go ahead and stand up in the World Court and get the World Court to understand and accept this as our way of life worldwide. We must get the Muslims' way of life to be accepted in the World Court as his or her way of life. And kill this thing about modernism, up-to-date Islam, and destroy that. Not with the fist, but with the pen and pencil, with the television, with the radio, with the web, with all the things that we can use to spread the truth about what Islam is all about. I don't think we're going to help the situation by calling people up in their houses and tell them that you would teach them the Quran. That's already Muslim. But that's what seems to be happening, coming out of Pakistan, because that's the ones I hear that's doing this. That's the one that's calling me up at times. And I can't understand what they be saying, but they're going to try to teach. I'm an Orthodox Muslim minister. And I'm speaking on television about Islam and what it expects us to do as Muslims. But that's what's happening. You have to go ahead and explain that to the World Court. I don't have funds enough to get to the World Court. I don't know how we're going to do this, how you're going to do this. But you're going to have to go ahead and get to the World Court and the United Nations. And brothers and sisters going to have to drop or change the opinion of people and let them see and separate ourselves from terrorism and the terrorist way of life. We must literally separate ourselves from terrorism openly. Openly. And I say it again, openly on television and the net. We're going to have to stand up and say, that's not us. We don't believe in that. We're not a part of that. We don't practice that. And this is what Allah says about that. And this is what Allah says about blowing yourself up. This is what Allah says about sitting down on the edge of the sword and pushing it up in your chest. This is what Allah says about killing women and children and old people, whether you're Muslim or non-Muslim. And whether they be Muslim or non-Muslim. You see, and that's what we're going to have to get them to understand and accept us on those levels. Because when you move against this country, and matter of fact, that's one of the things that the president of Syria is yelling out and calling everybody in front of him terrorists. That's trying to dethrone him. He's calling them terrorists. And some of them, by what I see, some of them might be. Some of them might be. So, might not be too wrong, but they might be just that. So, I'm going to leave you with that. I'll get back to you next week with it, some more. I hope you can see what I'm saying. But like I say to everybody right now, this Ummah is one Ummah. One Ummah. And there's no such thing as modern Islam. It's just Islam. And so there's no moderates. That's something that's made up again. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin, ar-rahmanir rahim, maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alaihim ghayril maghdubi alaihim waladdallin. Amin. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin.
Allah